We've already made our bias cast-on rag. Now, let's put it to work and see how useful it truly can be.
At the end of the first cast-on rag video, we hung this rag back on the pegs after making it. Now I'm going to put the ravel cord in. In this case, I'm just using a piece of heavy thread, upholstery weight cotton. The purpose of the ravel cord, sometimes called separating cord, or in old sock machine instructions, separating cotton, is to put something smooth and strong in between the two pieces of knitting. The hem, or cast-on rag, that we plan to reuse another time, and the main knitting. When we pull that out, you'll have two completely clean edges. One thing I did not tell you in the other video, oh darn, I have some spare thread in the act, is that you can actually do this and then use a real cast-on. The reason would be that you have this to tug on now. Sometimes it's hard to control your first row on a cast-on or the first couple rows thereafter. And you can use this if you need something to hold on to, or if it's in any way difficult to manage the cast-on. It can be much more easy to manage with this setup. And although the cast-on rag does take some time to make, you can use it over and over. You can make several sizes so that you have one for socks, one for bigger projects, and you can make them on any gauge of loom. Now here's what we have. You would never ordinarily knit with this, but it should slide out easily, and that's why I chose it. Now let's start knitting with our reel yarn in the normal way. The first row will be a little bit tricky. I guess I'll go ahead and put a loop into it just to make it easier to control. We're going to wrap and knit this and every other row after it normally for a while, till it's time to do something different. The first row is just tricky only for the reason that you're still knitting over this skinny thread. It does not have to be thread. Some people even use dental floss, which does work. But if you find thread and dental floss way too hard to manage, just use a thin, strong yarn. A cotton one is good. Slippery is good, fuzzy is bad, because we want it to slide out of the work later. Now at this point, I just keep knitting however long I want to knit. So I'm going to do that, get a few rows, and come back. Okay, here I have just bound off. Let me lift it off, move the loom out of the way, and we'll get organized to see what we're doing here. Here is indeed the world's shortest scarf, with 2 rows of ribbing on each end. Here is where I tried to pull out the cotton and it broke, the thread. Let's try it from the other end. And I see where I've got it kind of wrapped into a knot, so I'll pull that out first. If all goes well, once I release the knots, it should just pull out in one long piece. If it doesn't, we have other tricks. But it does, I think, this time. Ta-da! Now, here's what I was telling you. This is your cast-on rag. Having been on the loom only once, you see how the hanging loops are exaggerated. One of them is not, because I skipped one when I was explaining that you could skip one, and you see the difference. These two have grown, this has not. If you want to enhance this characteristic after having stretched it, you can place a damp cloth over it and iron it if you used acrylic yarn. That will do what we call killing the yarn. Normally, that's not something you want to do to your knitwear, but nobody's going to wear this. So its looks are not at issue. The convenience of getting to these loops is at issue. And so you can do that to keep them prominent if you want to. It also makes this a little bit larger and flatter and softer. And now here is what we have as a result. Both of these ends are bound off, so they should look identical. And I was thinking, yeah, but I'm clever. I'll be able to tell you which was which. But even I can't. So you see how well it works. Of course, this is a crazy example because the body of the scarf is 2 rows long. Normally, it would be 100 or more. But in any case, you can see the principle. That's one of several uses for your cast-on rag. Socks being another, holding stitches for any other purpose being another. We'll work on all those into the future.